Good evening and welcome to Real America's Voice Election Special 2020, Our Republic at Risk. I'm Eric Greitens. Here at Real America's Voice and at Just the News, we respect your intelligence. We honor you as a citizen and we fight for you. Tonight, there are two things that you need to know. First, the mainstream media cannot call the presidential election, and you are right to ignore what they say. Second, the election irregularities of 2020 need to be investigated, and despite what the mainstream media tell you, there is a lot to investigate. The mainstream media are telling you that the election is over. It is not. It is not because, number one, the Constitution says that it is not. The media does not decide who wins or loses the election. That decision is made by electors in the Electoral College. In the past, there had been a tradition in America of the mainstream media announcing election results, and there was a tradition of people trusting them. That tradition is over. The mainstream media no longer have the credibility to do this. The mainstream media are, after all, the least respected institution in the country. And part of how they destroyed their own credibility was by pushing false stories about elections and election interference. In the days after the 2016 election, Hillary Clinton claimed that Russia had infiltrated the U.S. election and had somehow affected the outcome by posting false stories on social media. The Clinton campaign, which had paid for the false Steele dossier, was at the root of the Russia collusion hoax. Now, Clinton's conspiracy theory grabbed hold in the mainstream media, which breathlessly reported that the election may have been stolen. President Trump was investigated for 675 days by special counsel Robert Mueller and a team of 19 lawyers. Despite 2,800 subpoenas and 500 witness interviews, prosecutors found no evidence that any person or Trump campaign official or associate conspired or knowingly coordinated with Russians during the 2016 campaign. Still, the mainstream media had no problem propagating the conspiracy theory that Clinton was robbed for years. The mainstream media also has no credibility because they knowingly provide a platform for unsubstantiated accusations about conservatives. Remember the Brett Kavanaugh hearings? The mainstream media has little credibility because they work with big tech censors, and together they ignore or suppress important stories that they just don't like. The mainstream media, for example, refused to do any serious investigation of Joe Biden's family potentially profiting from his time in office and Hunter Biden's business activities, despite numerous verified emails, documents, and eyewitnesses. The mainstream media, finally, has little credibility because they were utterly and terribly wrong about this 2020 election. They published wave after wave of false polls, all favoring Joe Biden. To summarize, the mainstream media, which pushed a false conspiracy theory for years about election interference, regularly provides a platform for unsubstantiated allegations against conservatives, knowingly suppressed stories about potential Democratic corruption, and was utterly wrong about 2020, are now saying to you, trust us. Of course you don't trust them, and I believe that you shouldn't. The second big thing to remember is that every election irregularity in 2020 needs to be investigated. And despite what the mainstream media tells you, there is a lot to investigate. You are right to be skeptical. You're right to ask that every legal vote be counted. You're right to ask for proof so that you can trust the integrity of your elections. Today, the Democrats and their allies in the mainstream media are telling you to unite. Some advice I have for Joe Biden: if he wants the country to unite behind him, make a simple statement. He could come out and say that every legal vote should be counted, that only legal votes should be counted, and he could ask that every Democrat across the country participate in a full audit of the election. Americans want to trust in their elections. They want irregularities to be investigated. Here are some facts. There is a whistleblower in Michigan who is working with the FBI. The whistleblower claims that they were told to backdate ballots. Biden should call for an audit. A whistleblower who worked for Nevada's Clark County elections is claiming that poll workers processed illegitimate ballots. Pennsylvania postal worker Richard Hopkins has signed a sworn affidavit alleging that Erie, Pennsylvania postmaster had told workers that he was backdating the postmarks on ballots to make it appear as though the ballots had been collected on November 3rd, Election Day, despite them in fact being collected on Wednesday and possibly later. So we have sworn affidavits, stories of fraudulent behavior in Michigan, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. Joe Biden should call for an audit. Another fact, an election software glitch in Michigan's Antrim County that had incorrectly directed votes to presidential candidate Joe Biden was found and fixed just Friday, putting thousands of votes correctly into President Trump's totals. Biden had originally led in the county by roughly 3,000 votes. Revised totals show that Trump won the county by around 2,500. Now, some have said that 47 counties use this same software and in the same capacity. Again, Biden could call for an audit. There also appears to be what some are calling election interference. The Constitution is very clear, and it allows only for state legislators to change the way elections are conducted. But memos show that Wisconsin election supervisors made substantial changes that impact potentially tens of thousands of ballots in a battleground state that Joe Biden won by just 20,000. Records reviewed by Just the News show that an agency called the Wisconsin Election Commission permitted local county election clerks to cure spoiled ballots by filling in missing addresses for witnesses, even though state law invalidates any ballot without a witness address. Wisconsin statutes stipulate that any ballot may not be counted if it's missing the address of the voter's witness. But right before the election, the Wisconsin Elections Commission issued a directive to the state's county clerks appearing to give them the authority, in violation of state law, to fix incomplete ballots that are missing witness signatures. Retired Wisconsin Supreme Court Justice Michael Gableman said, "The statute is very, very clear. If an absentee ballot does not have a witness address on it, it's not valid. That ballot is not valid." Now, sticking with Wisconsin, there are voter turnout numbers which just seem suspect. More than 90 of the 400-plus voting wards in Milwaukee County, a key Wisconsin battleground where Joe Biden beat President Trump on Tuesday, recorded voter turnout of over 90% of registered voters this year. Now, that's a remarkable outcome in a nation where 68% turnout this year will set a 120-year record. Ward-by-ward voting data from this year's election shows that numerous Milwaukee County voting precincts registered close to 100% voter turnout. Now, astronomical voting rates are often red flags for U.S. voter fraud watchdogs. Now, obviously, everyone hopes that there are just highly civically engaged people in Milwaukee. And if the numbers are right, then people in Milwaukee turned out in higher numbers for Joe Biden than turned out for Barack Obama. Other cities, particularly those in red states, didn't see anything like Milwaukee's voter turnout. Now, is this evidence of fraud? No. Is someone hitting the right number at roulette 5 times in a row evidence of cheating? No. But you'd want to investigate. And Biden and the mainstream media should embrace a thorough and complete investigation of what looks like unprecedented voter turnout in a swing state under Democratic control. Now, many other questions exist, too many to detail here. But despite what the mainstream media will tell you, you're not crazy for wanting to be sure that this was a fair election. You're a citizen, and fairness is what you deserve and it is what America needs. Now, while other people complain and criticize, I've always believed in action. And I'm proud to be part of the team here at Real America's Voice and at Just the News, where a team has been assembled of over 30 investigators who are working around the country. They are going to pursue facts, and we are going to share them with you. And some of that begins tonight.